Number one Ibble Dibble here. Hello, friends. It's been a while. I've been quite sick in a place I don't like much, and I wasn't really relishing the H&M beat. I've been keeping up with this Stanford neuroscience scandal and watching a lot of Hitchcock movies. But at some point, my desire to criticize peak degeneracy flowed again, and here we are. Thank you to all my channel members who selected the topic for today. We are just doing a gossip, roundup, catch up, everything I think I've missed over the past 2 weeks. Let me know in the comments below not only your thoughts on these 5 topics, but also if there's anything I missed that you think is really important to look into. Topic number one, are H&M crawling back to the royal family? According to a recent People magazine article, which is well known to just be an outlet where celeb PR can write and publish their own articles more or less unedited, here are some quotes from exclusive California sources. I'm not sharing any of People magazine's interpretation. Let's interpret these quotes ourselves. Quote, Meghan has taken a much softer approach about Harry's family, end quote. Quote, the situation with his father and brother is still very difficult for him. Meghan is always supportive of it, though. She used to be negative about it. It seems she has kind of moved on now. They have moved continents. They have set up a new life with their kids. She just wants to focus on their kids and their life in Montecito. End quote. Quote, they're very united when it comes to family values and how to raise their kids. They are both great parents. Their kids are their world. Their goal is to have a normal life as much as possible. Their upbringing is very play-based. They have several play areas, including a climbing gym on the property. End quote. Quote, they're not into a big scene. They prefer smaller group hangouts at home, karaoke, that sort of thing. Harry's a beer and steak and potatoes kind of dude. She talks to everyone. There's no pretense. They're playful and flirty when they're hanging out. End quote. And the sole actually named source of the story, local resident / Montecito Journal columnist Richard Miniards. Quote, they're making a life here. It's a good environment to be educated in, end quote. I find it so strange and stupid and funny that they think they're in a position to call a truce with the royal family. I also find it oddly satisfying that they've been forced to communicate with the royals solely through the press, just the situation they forced Meghan's family into. The Markles are so completely sidelined because Meghan doesn't care to hear from them or associate with them ever again. And she's willing to accept that holidays and years will come and go, children will grow up unknown, family members may get very ill and or die all in silence. If the royals have done the same to the Markle Mountbattens, they've done so after the same careful process of consideration. It's not a rash and regrettable decision made in anger. It's not a time/distance/ scheduling issue. It's been 3 years. Not only is the ball not in H&M's court, if it ever was, the match is over. It's been over. The season is over. It's so funny to me that they can't draw the parallel. Hello, you two. You know how you treat the Markles like they're beneath contempt? That's exactly what the royal family is doing to you, because that's exactly what you are to them. Also, it's wild to me that H&M think they can convince the royals Meghan has mellowed in 3 years. Firstly, those words don't match her actions. They've failed in Hollywood, but not for lack of trying. They're not spending their nights at home because they want to focus on their children. They're spending their nights at home because they're not invited, which we'll get to. You'd have to be a bigger fool than Harry to believe that Meghan's character had changed and improved. And I don't think anyone in the royal family is. Meghan was 39 years old when she and Harry left. Hanging out at home instead of falling out of clubs and glossing over your in law's flaws, whatever they may be, for the sake of not driving your husband into cycles of depression and despair, are not incredibly encouraging signs of maturation. They are something everyone else figured out 15 or 20 years before Meghan did. As if Prince William gives a shit about her being less negative and moving on. Bitch, he moved on the day he scarfed you on camera. Gossip item number 2, fighting free speech with fake anti-bullying campaigns. They released this Responsible Technology Youth Power Fund video that frankly requires more digging. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to make a dedicated video about it. My questions are, which of these young people have founded productive communities with measurable, meaningful, positive impacts, and which are just privileged little grifters maintaining a public service veneer long enough to pump up their CVs for grad school applications? It's a dumb game sufficiently wealthy and competitive Americans play, and I'm not here for it. We've all realized that the people who benefit the most from charities you've never heard of are their founders, not the supposed recipients of their support. Second question, how much money did H&M give, even in bad faith, which we know it was? They're claiming it's $2 million in grants, but I'll believe it when I see the tax returns. Do you remember when I did those videos about Meghan's donation to the Marshall Plan for Moms, which claimed to serve 25,000 families and have Meghan as a founding member? At the time, the Archwell tax return hadn't been released, and I questioned exactly what that dumb line plagiarized from a Wendy's commercial or whatever meant in dollars per head. When the Archwell tax returns came out, it was there in black and white, lower than I ever could have imagined. She donated $50,000 for 25,000 families, $2 per family, and had the audacity to think that was something she could brag about. H&M are determined to give as little as possible for their do-gooder photo ops. I have trouble believing that even if they were doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, they did much of the right thing anyway. Meghan dressing as an uncircumcised cock did make me laugh a little at least, so I guess that redeemed this a little bit in my eyes. Gossip topic number 3. This is the big one, the supposed impending divorce. Let me know in the comments below, how much longer do you think they have? Months, years? Again, I'm just going to go with the sourced quotes, not any of the interpretation, from the Us Weekly cover story. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are putting on a united front amid challenging time. Quote, "It's been a challenging time," says one source. Quote, "They're a united front," says a second source. "As far as they're concerned, it's Harry and Meghan against the world." Quote, "Harry and Meghan can't keep track of the negative things people say about them. It's relentless. They do their best to rise above it, but of course it gets to them. How could it not? So much of Harry and Meghan's time together has felt like overcoming strife from all sides. They just do it together. They rely on each other for strength and always have." End quote. Quote, "Harry and Meghan believe that feeding into that false narrative about divorce only gives it more attention. Sure, their relationship has challenges, but they are 100% committed to making their marriage work." End quote. Quote, "There's not too much work right now for either of them, so that does cause some issues of feeling isolated. Back home, Harry's summers were full of travel and weddings and exploring. Harry's made friends in California, but they're not like his London crew. These days, they're together 24/7. They go on hikes with the dogs, work out together, and hang out in the garden with the kids. They have regular date nights at members-only spots like San Vicente Bungalows and Soho House." End quote. Quote, "William and Charles want Harry to stop unveiling family secrets. They do not communicate often." End quote. Quote, "Harry and Meghan are regrouping. They want to figure out how they can best expand the entertainment side of things. They're looking for a house in Malibu." End quote. Here's the thing, we rarely hear about a celebrity divorce all of a sudden. They always come in bits and pieces, a series of little leaks. First, there's a Trouble in Paradise article, then a United Front denial, then a dumb vacation with the kids or date night photo shoot type thing, then a story about reconciliation. A few months go by, the same thing happens again. The cycle sometimes happens a million times, like with Tori Spelling and her husband, but sooner or later it's real. The couple really does break up. Did you ever notice how with couples that don't break up, this game never gets played? Do we ever hear about Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson? No, where there's smoke, there's fire. The purpose of this slow drip of gossip articles is twofold. Its first purpose is market research. How will people react to a potential separation? Who will the public side with? Which type of coverage is getting better traction and more sympathy? A drama mama scandal or a very adult conscious uncoupling? What does the press seem to care about most? The kids? The joint business ventures? Announcing a divorce before a couple is even unhappy can be a great way to grab some sympathetic headlines and do some image adjustments. Lots of Hollywood couples stay together because they're worth more together, and they find that out after initiating one of these divorce rumor press cycles. Lots of Hollywood couples split if one party is pleasantly surprised and empowered by the public siding with them. Other couples consider it a joke and a lark, not realizing they'll use the intel gathered in just a few years when things really do go sour. The second purpose is to acclimate the public to the new reality of separate entities. For example, even though Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston split in one of the most cliched, tacky ways, with him cheating on her with a home-wrecking co-star and blindsiding her with the divorce filing, there had been so many baseless articles prior to that point about them separating, supposedly due to different drug habits, different eating habits, different ideas about kids, different creative interests, different friend groups, whatever, that by the time they actually did break up, it didn't even feel like news because they had fake broken up in the press so many times before. My personal opinion is that Meghan is right on schedule. She was always going to divorce Harry after she cashed in maximally on his name and connections. She's got her giant mansion, her designer wardrobe, Diana's jewelry, her two little red-headed child support checks, profitable businesses in her mother's name, all the upgrades to her plastic surgery, and clearly she's exhausted all the money-making opportunities her connection with Harry and his family could offer her. She's not stupid. She knows she's never going to make Netflix and Spotify money again. The best she'll be able to get now is a tell-all book, and she doesn't need to be married to Harry for that. She may or may not be waiting for Harry to inherit this or that so she can convert it into community property before the divorce. But these divorce rumors aren't coming from thin air. They're coming from Meghan's paid PR, the same way every other story about her does. She's test driving and fine-tuning her image as a royal divorcee. That's also why she signed with WME without Harry, in my opinion. And Harry's probably too dumb to even realize it. She may stay or go sooner or later. I don't know how annoying Harry is at home or how good he is in bed, but she's making sure now that she builds up support as a solo act before she leaves the band. In her mind, she's Beyonce, Harry's Michelle, and when she gets bored or annoyed or lands a wealthier man or a better job, she's out. I think there are two important clues in these quotes. First, that they want to expand the entertainment side of things. This indicates that Meghan still thinks there's profit to harvest from the Sussex brand. Second, that they rely on each other for strength and always have. Nope. Harry very foolishly relies on Meghan for his self-worth, life purpose, and emotional support, but she has clearly not made him stronger. She's clearly identified and manipulated all of his weaknesses to cause extreme, irreversible damage to his family, friends, mental health, potential future livelihood, reputation, and legacy. Meghan, on the other hand, has never relied on a man for strength. She pretends she's fragile, they believe it, but she uses, abuses, and discards them at her convenience. Her strength comes from her personality disorder, which imbues her with a sense of godlike superiority and entitlement. Harry may think he's her rock because she visibly sucks the life force from him, but he doesn't understand the difference between the way she needs him and the way women have needed him in the past. Gossip topic number 4, Suits revival reunion. Supposedly Suits became Netflix's most streamed show after hitting June 23rd. I think this is PR deflection from the ongoing writer and actors strike in the US, and it's super distasteful. For those of you who are not aware, unionized writers have been on strike for 3 months. They've recently been joined by actors, and streamers like Netflix and Hulu are literally running out of content, causing more subscribers to get bored and cancel. The writers and actors are on strike because of lack of royalties and streaming content deals. Many of them no longer make a living wage, and that's what they're fighting for. Piles of writers and actors have made posts about this on social media. I think if you want some really good examples, Google Orange is the New Black cast members discussing the strike. They're basically treated like part-time retail workers, and many were literally because they couldn't afford to quit their day jobs even while they were on a hit show because Netflix just didn't pay them enough. As the strike has gone on, things have gotten really bad, really ridiculously bad. The studios were fined by the city of Los Angeles for cutting all the leaves off the trees shading the picket lines. A studio exec who makes $27 million per year was quoted in an interview. Quote, "Nobody wanted a strike, but everybody knew this was make or break. We will break the Writers Guild of America. The end game is to allow things to drag on until union members start losing their apartments and losing their houses. It's a cruel but necessary evil." End quote. Meghan hasn't said a single word in their support, despite having spent over a decade as a struggling actress and currently being in a position where she can afford to vocally, loudly support them. Do you remember all this talking the talk?
I think within the industry, what we can do to help pay it forward for the generation coming up next is really to implement policies that are going to help families and people within the industry be able to have the balance to take care of their families and to be able to do their jobs. A high tide raises all ships. So if you can really adopt that motto and understand that by helping the people who are coming up, it's not taking anything away from you. It's just helping more people succeed. I think that's really key.
If you thought for a moment she cared, she's shown us now that she certainly does not. In fact, she's sort of a PR scab, using the strike as an opportunity to promote her old canceled show. Needless to say, I support the striking writers and actors 100%. Fuck Netflix, fuck Suits, fuck Meghan. The last gossip topic I wanted to cover today, H&M can't sit here. There have been so many news articles lately about how H&M have been ditched by famous friends, including George and Amal Clooney, Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom, Victoria and David Beckham, Joe and Jill Biden, Gavin Newsom, the Obamas, Courtney Cox. Even one of their 88-year-old neighbors in Montecito, a Navy veteran who just published a memoir, talked shit about them in his memoir. Furthermore, they were specifically never included by other quite famous neighbors of theirs, including Steven Spielberg, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Rob Lowe, Gwyneth Paltrow. We knew this. I've mentioned the Clooney and Beckham fallouts in past videos. Their PR has tried to frame it as cowardly, desperate, feckless Hollywood people, terrified they'll never win a BAFTA as long as Will and Kate are around, ruining everything for H&M. But that's not really it. What's interesting about this is that it's just hitting the mainstream gossip rags. To me, this indicates that there's now more money in trashing them than there is in standing them in the mainstream. And I use the terms trashing and standing because I don't think any mainstream media covers them in an unbiased manner, certainly not in a reasonably critical way. This in turn indicates to me that H&M are not spending as much cash on ensuring positive coverage as they used to, possibly because they can no longer afford it. When I search for them in the usual places, like the Daily Mail, People, Us Weekly, Perez Hilton, TMZ, I see a lot of damage control type articles sourced from them after a harsh disappointment, which has always been part of their playbook, but far fewer purely positive image vehicles than there used to be. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I believe this is how they'll bankrupt themselves. Overspending on ineffective PR. They are wrong about what personal respectability and identity politics can do for them. Furthermore, they continue to attempt to cultivate the wrong people, the wrong friends, the wrong business contacts. Finally, when your brand is victim, you must continue playing the victim. Unfortunately, that leaves only one role for the popular and successful people you hope to associate with: villain. Eventual perpetrator, fall guy, villain. Literally everyone in Hollywood is too smart for that. As long as they continue to insist on being perceived as victims, they will never make any valuable friends. Okay, that's it. Those are my thoughts on the past 2 weeks of H&M gossip. I can't wait to hear from you in the comments below. Toodles! Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.